Hi everybody, welcome to Paul Programs, your spot for learning a little bit more about game design and game mechanics. Welcome to the lab. Today we're going to take a look at Pokemon Arceus, just before some new Pokemon games drop, so let's get started. Alright, before we begin, don't forget that if you want to see more videos like this, if you're interested in learning about game mechanics or certain types of game mechanics or games, let me know in the comments section below. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for when new videos drop about different mechanics. Alright, so in this session of the lab, we're going to talk about basically world design in terms of pseudo open worlds. And what I mean by that is that you don't really have a completely open world in your game. It's more of you have open areas connected by a central hub. And there's several games that use this style of design, one of them being Monster Hunter, Pokemon Arceus, as you see. So we're going to really just dive into that design, kind of what goes on in these open areas, or open zones is a better way to term them, because they're not really open world. Because again, not everything's connected. You have a hub that lets you kind of transport to these different areas. So you have several areas here you can go to based on what you can unlock. I'm just gonna jump into pretty much the second area, I believe it is. Yeah. And there's a thing called outbreak, mass outbreak, and what that functionality is basically there's a certain area in this zone that has several Pokemon constantly spawning, and catch rates for special shinies, which are rare colored Pokemon, increases as you kind of go through these, catch them, and there's all sorts of really interesting math and mechanics going on that a lot of other content creators out there have covered. But we're really just here to take a look at how you would go about designing, or how at least Game Freak went about designing these open areas. Here we have our map of the area, and there's different things you can see and do, but there is basically a barrier as you get closer to the edges. But besides that barrier, you can pretty much go anywhere within this map, which is what gives it an open-ish world feel without being completely open world. So if you can see it and it's not past one of these border areas, you can pretty much go to it. So as you can see, we can traverse. You see your Pokemon on the field. You can actually interact with things as they are where they are. So it's a nice aspect compared to older Pokemon games where battles and everything happens on basically a separate zone. Some games you could actually see the Pokemon on the world map, but again, it still takes you to that separate battle. Here, everything you see, you can interact with. And the nice part is you don't actually have to battle on screen. You battle, well, on a different screen. You battle where you see it. Or you don't have to battle at all. You could just catch the Pokemon right there. Basically, as I said before, if you can see it, you can try getting to it. And as you play the game, you'll unlock more of these Pokemon that you basically ride on to get to different areas. So that's how they control flow of the areas. They don't give you easy access to everything right off the bat. It's as you progress further in the game, you'll unlock more of these ride Pokemon, and they allow you to get to areas you couldn't get to before. You can explore, and the game kind of pushes you to explore and check out different things, gives you all different ride Pokemon so you can check out different areas. Like we can actually go swim around, run around, climb, glide, kind of get a push-up flight. And this is the one of the few areas that actually breaks all the rules of the game, and it's a cave. It's basically its own separate instance. It's not actually open zone, it's its own separate zone. I mean, it's open in the sense that you can explore everything in this particular zone, but what this shows is that just because you set rules doesn't mean you have to have a hard adherence to them. If it provides better gameplay or improves your game in some way, it's all right to break your rules a little bit. You don't want to do it so much that it kind of causes a disjointed effect for your players. But if it provides just a little bit of a more curated experience that you're looking for, then doing something a little different than you normally do in the rest of your game isn't a bad thing. Because in a lot of games, they used to have this thing where they put invisible walls and they were there so you couldn't actually get past them. And let's see, just climb up here. Yep, see, so the way it's handled here is that as we basically get close to that invisible wall, it says you can't go further. It adds like a fog effects, making it seem like you just can't see past because the fog's so thick. So it doesn't just like straight invisible wall you, though it does invisible wall you. You can see I can't move further. But this is what helps them basically create an area that's a little easier to manage, because open world design and programming is complicated because you basically have a world that's constantly moving, alive, and you're managing. That's why games like Cyberpunk, Grand Theft Auto, and things like that, there's a lot of strange, quirky bugs that can happen because of how the world is being managed and how much is going on. At least with this open area, they can handle basically everything that's going on to a smaller extent, and you're not storing as much data, you're not creating as much like behaviors you have to kind of track. So yep, and here we have some aggressive Pokemon, and that's the other thing too, is your behaviors. How do you handle your behaviors in such big areas of with lots of creatures and other things here? Part of it is player location to said things. So you'll probably store where certain Pokemon and other objects and things are until the user interacts with it, and then you may remove it from that specific list. If you're loading an area, you may have things kind of grouped to their particular zones. So if we actually take a look at the map, you may have specific Pokemon that show up here in the Scarlet Bog, and you'll basically have maybe some kind of list for everything that's in this specific zone. And that might be a better way for you to kind of manage all the kind of activity and things going on there. Thanks for watching, and if you're interested in seeing more videos like this talking about or taking a look into games and their design a bit more like this, then we'll have more lab sessions, so make sure to study up and get ready, and I will catch all of you next time.